Hello everyone, welcome to this video tutorial. And this is our first tutorial in our indicator filter playlist. In this first tutorial, we're not going to talk too much about each individual indicators, how we create the indicator filters on top of them. Instead, we will go through our software application. I'll get everybody familiar with the application layouts and how get used to our tools before we get into the actual filter creation. So let's go into our application first. So this is the main page of application. So before I doing anything, it's the empty like this structure. If we want to go into take out uh, bring out our indicator filter, we need to go into the analysis menu and our first item which is our indicator filter management. So once you click on that, as you can see in the left hand side, we are bringing up two windows. The first one is our indicator filter management tree. So at the moment there is empty filters because this is just brand new installed application. We haven't created anything yet. And in the windows below that is our indicators tree, so which includes all the indicators that is supported at current version. So as you can see, we have constant value, close, open, high, low price, volume, unbalanced value, ISD, etc. Okay, so first thing of first, we want to create a new indicator filters. All you need to do is right click on the indicator filter tree and bring up this pop-up menu, and in here you can select the add filter. Once you click on that, as you can see, we add a new item under that indicator filters the roots item. So as you can see, there is a new uh, indicator filter created for us. The name looks like very weird. It says new filter, and it gives us a the default UUID, unique identifier. So all you need to do is rename this thing to something meaningful to you. Okay, so if you want to say this is our demo indicator filter 1, so you just give it a name. As you can see, while you're typing this name in this field, and this name is changed accordingly from the tree node as well, right? So that's quite convenient. Once you give it a meaningful name, and the second one is the description part. So basically, you want to give it, if you want to give it this the indicator filter a detailed description, you can type a lot of things here. So first of all, it's up to you, you know. So you say it's find or Starks, that is blah blah blah, and the second one is find or Starks, that is also XYZ. So you can put as many as descriptions here. You can lay out as whatever the method you want, right? So that's the second one. The name is absolutely mandatory because you requires a name for a indicator filter. The second one is not mandatory, so you can leave it this thing totally blank, which is also fine. So the last item in the first section here is the sentiment, right? So the sentiment is it's kind of is a sentiment related with the filter that you're going to create, right? So there is a 3 sentiments you can choose from: the bearish, bullish, and neutral. So if you have your bearish sentiment embedded this indicator filter, you can put it to bullish. So once you select the bullish and you double click anywhere in this first window, as you can see, the filter icon becomes green. Instead, if you choose the bearish and you double click again, so the filter becomes red. So basically the color scheme is the red color means the bearish sentiment, green color is bullish sentiment, and the black color, which is default, is the neutral sentiment. Okay, so that's the first part. And the second one is the very important part, which is our actual indicator configuration part. So this part, as at the moment, you're not be able to do anything. So because you need to create an add condition, right? So if you click add condition, so as you can see, all the configuration are enabled, and you can select, you can editable, right? So but at the moment there is nothing in there. In order to pick up the indicator into the selection drop down list, you need to select what indicators you want to use. Normally, once you select it, it will stays there unless you unselect it. Basically, what I mean is, if you want to have the closing price as well, you, as you can see, you double click the closing from his indicator tree here, and then it goes to here. As you can see, the close price, it goes to this drop down list. Same with the open. If you select open, we added another one, and high, low, volume. Okay, as you can see, they'll be added in. Let's select everything in there and leave it as it is. So basically, you select all these indicators, and you can just pick up any one you want to use whenever you want to create the indicator filters. If you want to exclude one of them, volume, for example, you double click again, so this green ticket disappear, and then the volume indicators disappeared also from your drop down list from here and here. All right, let's put it back in. Okay, once you have all the indicators selected, now you click the add condition, you can start to add conditions. So the second part here, we have a three segment here. So first one is the left indicator, and in between is our operators, and right hand side is our right indicators. So there's you can select from here. So basically, let's say if you want to find out all the closing price, so as you can see, the left hand side and right hand side indicator segment that behavior send, if you select one of them, so as you can see, the configuration part changes according to whatever you choose, right? So if you select all OBV, unbalanced volume, so it changes, and you have to, if you switch it to RSM, which is our relative strength mass field indicator, and you can see the configuration also changed. Most popular one, SMA, stands for the simple moving average, and if you select that one, the configuration items changes, or the changes to the simple moving average configurations. Okay, so that's the idea of this interface designed. So okay, let's just say we want to pick up all the weekly closing price. The value means the closing price value, right? And compared to the previous week's closing value, in the right hand side you select the closing price as well, a weekly as well, but you choose the previous one. The previous value means the last week's one. And what are you saying is, I want to select all the, so current closing price is higher than previous closing price. This one means higher, larger. So if you select that one and you're happy with the setting, as you can see, if you click the save condition, it goes below. Weekly closing price higher than weekly closing previous price. So that'll give you all the, in the weekly chart, give you all the stocks that this week closing price is higher than previous closing price, right? So once you want to add, if you want to change your condition, for example, if you want to give it more specific configuration, and you can click this condition, and you modify the condition. As you can see, everything becomes editable again. So you can modify your conditions here. Say, for example, I not only want to know the current week closing price is higher than previous week's closing price, I also want to define they're at least 2% higher. So how we're going to do that? And I'll change my larger operator to the diff. Okay, so in the range, I want to say that difference has to be larger, at least larger than 2%, right? So if I specify this and I click save again, as you can see, the condition changes to current weekly closing price minus previous week's closing price, and the value has to be larger than 2%. So I'm going to ignore the, from the 2% to 0%, even the negative values. I'm only interested in this week's closing price is higher than previous week's closing price, and this the difference has to be more than 2%. Okay, so that's the idea of this second part of here. So not only you can specify these conditions, and also you can specify the range, and the range only be available when you're using the diff. So if you're using the round, for example, if you using the round operator and you click save, so you will see the error message say the range settings can only be used with diff or ABS diff operators, right? So you basically can't change something invalid. But here, if you put it back diff and you save again, and that's fine. So this is the indicator operator, and this is the range. Okay, so another thing is, in our indicator filter management, you can only, unlike the trained filter management, you can only specify one functions. In the indicator filter management, we can add more conditions, right? So if you want to delete that one, we can delete that one. So if you click delete, as you can see, there's no conditions left. Let's add a new one. So what I'm really meaning is you can add multiple conditions. For example, first of all, I want to specify the weekly EMA, exponential moving average, calculated based on the closing price, 5 weeks moving average value, right? And the ABS diff means you subtract the second one. So for example, my right hand side is the exponential moving average as well, closing based on closing price, weekly chart, and I want to specify 10 weeks value. So ABS value. So what I really mean is I want to find all the 5 weeks moving average EMA, and subtract with 10 weeks EMA. The value, either positive or negative, has to be within 5%, between 2% and less than 5%. If I add this function in it, so as you can see the conditions being added here, if you read, it's just weekly EMA, 5 weeks EMA closing price, ABS minus the weekly EMA 10 weeks closing price, and this range has to be falling into less than 5% and large or equals to 2%. Right. So that's the first one, and we can also add another one. If you click add condition again and select the simple moving average, as we can see, we can do the same thing, but this time I want to specify about 10 weeks EMA. If we put 10 here, that would be 10 weeks EMA calculated. If you untick that one as simple average, but I want a EMA, which is I'll take this exponential checkbox here. The ABS div is, let's change it to 20 and the value. So if I add this one and less than 5%, larger than 2%. Okay, so as you can see, if I add a condition here, I can add another one. So the another one is the 10 weeks EMA minus the 20 weeks EMA. It could be positive or negative value, but this value, the range has been falling into this 2% and 5% range. So as you can see, I added 2 conditions right here, and I can add even more. So if you keep adding the conditions, so I can add multiple conditions inside one indicator filter management. So I can even change it here, say, yep, weekly EMA, 5 weeks, 10 weeks. I could say clustering, right? Clustering inside 2% to 5%, right? So if you know, because we included that range in the mathematical language, we can specify the square braces 2 to 5%, and that very clear. So this condition's been defined, finished. we have defined a clustering indicator with multiple conditions. All right, the last bit is the last one for past blah blah. Here, as you can see, at the moment is disabled. Once you, as you can see, if you select the first condition and modify, right, everything stays same, but for the past is enabled. What that means is this one is adding up one more constraints for your condition, which means if you put 20 and you select week, what that means is for the past 20 weeks, your EMA 5 weeks EMA value, subtract with your 10 weeks EMA closing price value, right? Inside that range. So that status has to be maintained in the past 20 weeks. So basically, if you add this past constraint right here, so that duration you created, as you can see, if I hit the save condition, so you can see this condition becomes for the past 20 weeks, right? So this filter, if you're using that as a market scan, it will give you all these equities with this condition to maintain for the 20 weeks. So that defines a very solid consolidation range for at least 20 weeks. So if you modify the second one and you save it again, as you can see, for this both of the conditions, these two conditions has to be last for the past 20 weeks. So and that is another usage of this duration part of configuration in this filter management page. Okay, so that's pretty much it. I'll explain all this all these interface components, windows, and this configuration sections, what they're really doing. I haven't included all the different type of indicators. For example, I've created another one. I'm adding new conditions. So this time, because I just explained the SMA, moving average and closing, I still have a lot of other stuff hasn't been explained, even with the closing price. So as you can see, the options, you have so many options here. So so many functions you can use. Not only the operators, you can use so many options here, which is the functions. So to achieve your more advanced market scan. So I think that's pretty much for this interface introduction. Before we finish this tutorial, I would bring up another documentation page that's going to be very useful for you guys to have a look. Okay, so because we have provided so many functions for each of our indicators, if you go into our main page, browsing to the products technical analysis tool, so there is an indicator filter function documentation page. If you open this one, as you can see, we have lots of documentation for all the indicators. Okay, so if you go through the table of contents, as you can see, in this section, in this tutorial, we only just go through the indicator filter management introduction, the first section here, where we explain everything. What is the range? What is the duration? Operators. I haven't covered everything, but if you go back, if you still have some questions in mind, you can go into this documentation page and read through all these documentations. They're going to be explained, even though the operators explains what is each operators mean, duration, range, and they have another example here. So this is pretty much the same example I just did for the moving average. Okay, so in our following tutorials, I'm going through start from a group of indicators that share the same properties. I will show you guys how to use each individual functions and explain what the functions mean. So yep, go back to this page often when you have question in mind. And yeah, I think that's pretty much for our first tutorial. Okay, well, thanks for your watching. Thanks for your time. I'll see you guys in the next tutorial.